I'm often reminded of this story I read last fall where it came out that there was some executives over at HBO who were creating fake social media accounts in order to try to push the public discourse surrounding their shows in a certain direction. Now, for the examples used in this article, they were saying they were trying to give it positive attention. But is it really outside the realm of possibility that maybe there's some people working at these studios, just low level marketing people, their job is to maintain several social media accounts? Some of them are also going to try to give negative attention to their show. And some people might thinking like, well, why would you want to be giving negative attention to their show? And that got me thinking about this other story that came out from Lucasfilm where they were telling their star Moses Ingram before Obi-Wan came out that, hey, we cast you and just a heads up, you're going to be getting a lot of hate on social media, which the hate wasn't really coming from like any major accounts or anything like that. It was a lot of just random accounts with little to no following on it. And I was wondering, is it possible that they set this up ahead of time? Because fans of Star Wars never had any problem with people of various races, pretty much ever since the original trilogy. But yet they were trying to push this narrative as a sort of defense against the criticism for their show that like anyone who doesn't like it is just racist. Here are some random people on social media as an example to this. So if you criticize this show or criticize this actor or character, it's because you're automatically racist. And I was thinking like, is it really people on social media saying this? Because maybe there are people saying that, but it could be just people over at the studio maintaining these social media accounts in order to try to push a certain narrative and to kind of dismiss criticism. And we have seen that when it comes to many shows and movies, when they're anticipating that there's going to be some significant pushback for what happens during the show or casting choices for particular characters, then they'll basically kind of prep the excuses ahead of time. So when people do inevitably criticize them, they already have it kind of in the works to say like, yep, see, we were telling you. And I'm thinking this doesn't seem like it'd be so strange for a studio to do this, especially when they have so much money invested. They would try to look for any excuse that they can to dismiss any criticism. And that's what gets me to today's story, talking about the upcoming season 2 of The Last of Us, because apparently one of the actors in the show says, Kaitlyn Dever, who plays Abby in season 2, had to have extra security because apparently there's threats being made against her. Never mind that she never actually mentions any specific threats, but says that fans hate the character, so they had to protect the actress as a result of all this. As The Last of Us season 2 approaches, audiences anticipate the introduction of titular video game's most controversial character, Abby Anderson, in the live-action HBO series. Star Isabel Merced reveals that Kaitlyn Dever, who portrays Abby in the upcoming season, needed extra security during production, considering people's real-life hatred for her character. Well, okay, yes, a lot of people don't like the character, usually having such a strong reaction towards a character in a property is kind of a good thing because it shows that the writers did a good job. But the thing when it comes to Abby is they didn't want her to make a hated character. They wanted to make a character that you can kind of empathize with, but they failed in that regard. So now this is what you get as a result. During an interview with Josh Horowitz on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Merce spoke about Dever getting additional security details while on The Last of Us season 2 set. Though Abby has a divisive reputation given what she did in The Last of Us Part 2, Merce can't understand why some fans can't differentiate the character from the person playing her. There are people that actually genuinely hate Abby who is not a real person. Just a reminder, not a real person. And so Kaitlyn had to be extra secured by security when it came to filming of this, she said. I don't see a problem with people hating the character of Abby because she was supposed to be, or at least she should have been considered a hateable character for what she did in The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I'm not saying you should hate the actress who played her, whether it's Kaitlyn Dever in the show or Laura Bailey, I believe, who played her in the game. Don't hate the actress because they're just playing a part. If anything, you should actually commend them for portraying a character that you actually hated. And ordinarily, that would be a mark of a good writer if you can make a character that audiences have such a strong reaction to. Like, I'm sure George R.R. Martin was happy that a lot of people hated Joffrey because that was kind of the whole purpose of his character. And I know the actor has said that there were people who would say that he was such a hateable character on the show. I don't know if there's people who genuinely hate the actor because he played such a detestable character on the show. maybe some people will talk crap to him in public or something like that, but I'm sure none of that is genuine. I think most people are just kind of playing along for it and just understand that, yeah, if you can make such a hateable character and you can portray that character, then there's just kind of a mark of talent. But when it comes to Abby, the problem I think the creators of The Last of Us have with people hating her is they wanted to try to make a genuinely sympathetic character. So they show her doing something detestable, and then you kind of go back and see things through her perspective and try to understand that character. But a lot of people in the audience were like, yeah, we don't care what you try to do to humanize her. We still hate her for what she did. And as a result of that, they're trying to almost say like, oh, well, the audience is bad for not seeing things the way we did it. If anything, I would say that just means that they failed at their job. If their goal was to try to make people empathize with her, they didn't do a good job about that. And I think they're kind of understanding that's going to be the reaction when it comes to Abby in season 2. And that's why they're kind of getting these excuses ready. But I don't think this additional security, it has anything to do with audience's reaction towards her. I think that's just what they're saying because it's good publicity for them. But I think there's other reasons for that, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's just kind of continue on with this article. Since Dever's casting as Abby was confirmed in January, fans of The Last of Us franchise expressed their fear that Season 2 could replicate The Last of Us Part 2's most controversial moment. Now, this is kind of a spoiler for people who haven't played the games but did watch the show, so if you don't want to be spoiled on Season 2, then feel free to click off the video right now. But for the rest of us, we know that Abby kills Joel pretty early on in the second Last of Us game, and then the rest of the game is following Abby and Ellie, and it seems like the creators of the game were thinking, if we show people Abby's perspective, then maybe they'll empathize with her. And I think that happened to an extent. I think people were thinking like, yeah, I can kind of see where she's coming from, but it didn't really help anything. People were basically like, yeah, I can see where she's coming from, but I don't care. I still hate the character because of what she did with Joel. And I think when it comes to season 2 of The Last of Us, we're going to get kind of a similar response to that, and basically history repeating itself, where people who've only watched the series and never actually played the game are going to go into this and be upset that Abby kills Joel, and then we're going to see the same thing over and over again. So right now they're kind of prepping excuses by saying like, oh, if you criticize this, then it's because you're just making threats. You know, Kaitlyn Dever was getting threats. She had to have additional security. Well, first of all, we don't know for a fact that she actually has additional security. We just have one of the actresses on the show saying she has additional security. But even if that's the case, we don't know it's because there was threats or anything like that. I mean, yeah, maybe there's people who are making threats on social media. If that's the case, then you could provide the receipts to that. But I mean, if you don't have that, then I have a tough time believing it. And even then, if there are threats, are they actual real threats, or people just saying like, we hate this character and stuff like that? But the fact of the matter is, even if there is additional security, there's many reasons why she can have additional security. Maybe they're just going to try to keep her appearance under wraps and discreet until she's actually revealed when they want to reveal her. Because one of the things that people were questioning when they cast Kaitlyn Dever was that she's obviously a lot smaller and slimmer than what Abby is in the game. So I don't know, maybe she's putting on a lot of muscle and they want to keep that on the down low until they actually choose to reveal that during the season. And if that's the case, fine, they can do that, and that would account for why they're having additional security. But right now, just don't buy into this that you can't criticize something because someone was being threatened or whatever. Even if she was being threatened, that doesn't mean that you can't criticize the character. You can't criticize the show. You can still do all those things, and don't let them dismiss it just because there were a few bad apples out there. Because like I said, even the studios themselves will kind of masquerade as these people in order to try to push a narrative. And if the narrative is like anyone criticizing this are bad people, well, then we'll start seeing those responses online. And if you're just seeing them from like some random accounts with no following or anything like that, then it's probably a good indication that it might be from someone in the studio, and it's just ignore them. They're definitely going to try to tout those people as the rule and not the exception, which they would be at best. In all honesty, I think there's going to be a significant pushback when the show actually does come out, because there's going to be a lot of people who didn't, I mean, a lot of people didn't like it when it happened in the game. So it stands to reason a lot of people are not going to like it when it happens in the show. So I just kind of look forward to seeing what that response will be from regular audiences when they actually do see this. But comment below and let me know what you think their reaction will be when it inevitably does happen, where Joel gets killed off by Abby, assuming they actually follow the games, which by all accounts they're going to follow the games. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share the video out there too, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.